Dylan Larkin, you're placed on bust watch. Wait, defendant has something to say, apparently. Okay, fine. Say what you want to say.
My name is Dylan Larkin, and I have a hockey butt.
Well, he makes a convincing argument. Nope, doesn't cut it. You're still on bust watch, or bum watch, or what bust watch. Welcome back to the Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's time to talk about one of the players that we've been asked about the most. Easily, the people are losing frustration with this guy, and he hasn't been dropped yet, but I have a feeling that it's coming. I have a feeling I'm getting ahead of it, because we've gotten so many questions, so much frustration about Dylan Larkin, that it's only right to talk about him. This is a preemptive bust watch in the sense that I have a feeling people are going to do silly stuff with him, and I want to prevent that because it doesn't look as bad as it seems. It's frustrating and everything, but look, the other thing is that on top of that, you have a player who you most likely got very late, who has a very high ceiling, and like I'll show you in a second, his underlying numbers don't show that he should be this bad. So there is a lot of room for him to get better. So in my opinion, Dylan Larkin is one of those guys that has a high ceiling. You got late, you should have some patience. It's only 11 games in. Now again, like I said before, at 10 games you start to learn a little bit about who a player is. And in this case with Dylan Larkin, one, we've kind of learned who he is. We've seen where he's struggling, where he can get better. And on top of that, there are some promising things as well. But ultimately, look, the whole point of this is going to be urge patience. People are freaking out way too much about Dylan Larkin and the line blender that's going on in Detroit. Okay, getting to Dylan Larkin's deployment here. So he's playing on the top line, obviously, but they moved Anthony Mantha down and moved Darren Helm up to the top line. Not fantastic for him. Darren Helm is not exactly good, as you can see here. And there's a lot of options here on what they can do, and putting Darren Helm is probably one of the least beneficial things for him. Now, the other thing that I actually don't like too much is they changed up the power play. And it's looking like it's Bertuzzi, Dylan Larkin, Taro Hiroshi, Philip Roenick, and Mike Green on the top power play, and then on the second power play they put Anthony Mantha, Athanasiou, Chalowski, Filppula, and Giovanni Smith. Now, why they're splitting it up like this, I don't know. I don't know why when you have a team like this team is ugly. I don't know why you're going 2 power plays. It makes zero sense. Now, granted, maybe that top power play wasn't doing much for them, and so they decided, we're going to try to see if this works, and I doubt this sticks. I mean, really, this should be a power play with Bertuzzi, Larkin, Athanasiou, Mantha, and then whatever defenseman they choose to be, and just have a very bad second power play. But for whatever reason, they're not doing that right now. So we'll see when that gets back. Now, for Larkin, that is slightly concerning because that means his power play isn't as good, and this also probably means that it's going to be more 50-50 split as opposed to the top one getting most of the minutes. But ultimately, as we'll see in a second, Dylan Larkin should be on that top power play and getting most minutes all the time. Like, all the time. Because he's really good. Look at this. Look at these numbers. 24% plus offense, minus 12% on defense. He crushes it there. And on the power play, if you look up here where it says power play, right in the top right here, look at where that is. Look at that isolated impact right in the front of the net. Yeah, he's good. He's good on the power play. He's really good. Dylan Larkin is pretty much borderline elite from a threat level standpoint and how much better he makes his team. Now, if we then go and look at his career here. So this is his career numbers right here. This historical isolated impact. So this is how good he's been over his career. Right now, he's performing just as well as he did last year. From a threat level standpoint, he's playing just as well. He's creating as much difficulty for opponents and stifling them on defense as he did last year. It's not like he's taken this massive step back. Now, where the step back has come has been just in points, and he at first wasn't shooting as much, but that's actually come up recently. And if we look at the team as a whole, how do they play with him? So looking at 5v5 with and 5v5 without in this situation. With plus 21% when Larkin is on the ice. Without minus 26% threat when Larkin is not on the ice. Look at the difference in red. Look how much better they are with Larkin on the ice. Even on defense, they are so much better defensively with Larkin on the ice than without him on the ice. That is massive. That is a huge gap. That is a player you cannot play without. So one thing I always say with fantasy players a lot is I like guys who are the person. They are the main person, the person that's going to be trusted with everything on a team, because that means they're not going to get their opportunities taken away from them. That means that they're going to continue to get opportunities. I like trusting guys like that. For example, Cam Atkinson, Pierre-Luc Dubois, sure, maybe a worse team, but if you compare that to someone who's like on a second line and could be second fiddle at times, or kind of some shuffles, that doesn't really happen in Columbus because you really have no other options. And it's the same thing in Detroit. You don't really have options outside of Dylan Larkin. He is your guy. He is the guy. And again, I want to remind people too that in most situations, you got this guy pretty late, and you got an elite player late. Now, this is all good and dandy, right? Like he's doing well from a stats standpoint. He's clearly putting stuff on the net, making life hard on the other team. But how does that actually resonate to stats? What is he missing? What are we missing here? Now, let's take a look at the tool here really quick, the in-season tool, and take a look at what's happening. So one thing, obviously, his point pace is down at the moment, but there's some reasons for that. One, his shot pace is actually down from last year, about almost 20%. It has come up recently. I'll show you the last week in a second on our own personal research tool that we use for the podcast, but this is the in-season tool that everyone has access to. His shot pace is down just a little bit, creeping back up. This shooting percentage is way too low. I mean, Dylan Larkin, all his career, has been around a 10 to 12% shooter, and he's currently sitting at 6%. That should throw red flags to you immediately, saying, okay, you know what? Hold on. Something is up here from Dylan Larkin. He should be getting more goals. And if we take a look really quick at HockeyViz here, look at where his shots are coming from. These 5v5 shot locations, they're coming from pretty dangerous areas in between the two circles, kind of right in front of the net, some off to the side, a few from the points, but more than anything, it's kind of concentrated here in the middle of the slot. Then if you look at 5v4 shot locations, also somewhat dangerous areas. These ones out on the outside of the faceoff circle aren't as dangerous, but the ones in the middle of the slot are dangerous. Just you'd like to see more shots there. It's really just the power play as a whole is somewhat not doing well, and that's clearly why they're trying out this two power play situation thing. So coming back over here now, if we look at his IPP, this is the thing. IPP is the thing that to me is the most alarming thing that stands out to me, that I say Dylan Larkin is due to get better. Last year he had an IPP of 75%. Right now he's sitting at 43%. Now, for those that don't know what IPP is, as a quick reminder, IPP is how many of the points that happened on the ice were you involved in. So if there were 10 goals scored on the ice and you were involved in four of them, you got a 40% IPP. Now, Dylan Larkin should be involved in way more of the goals for how much offense he personally drives. Because of that, what you want to see here is you want to see Dylan Larkin's IPP to be higher. You would expect it to be higher, and I think there's room for that, especially when then you go on to the next stage here, which is on-ice shooting percentage over here. And on-ice shooting percentage is how often a goal goes in while you're on the ice. And for it to be on-ice shooting percentage of 10%, which is very similar to last year, and on top of that, your IPP goes down by that much, he should be factoring into a lot more of these goals. And I fully believe he will. On top of that, he hasn't scored a power play goal yet, which is telling. Last year he shot at 21%. That might be a little bit high for him. I would expect that to come down a little bit, but still he should have a power play goal by now, I would expect. He's actually underperforming his expected goals here. His expected goals are 3.31. Now, of course, take these with a grain of salt. The NHL hasn't fixed them completely yet, but it is getting better. This was significantly lower before, so the NHL is getting better at fixing that goal range situation. So once they fix that, this will also look different. So look, the thing with Dylan Larkin is when you look at this, at least everything is kind of fine. His block pace is actually up. I wish his hit pace were up, but the fact that he's not hitting as much is actually okay to me, as long as that translates into shots. So then if we go to our podcast research tool, the one we use for the show, it's our personal one. I'll be making a whole video. I know people will ask why they don't have custom anymore. We'll get into it. People loved the tool too much when we broke StatTrick. So I'll make a separate update video for that. So this is the Dylan Larkin video. But if we look at the custom range, this is his last week. So this is the last 7 days of Dylan Larkin. What has happened? 4 games played. Time on ice went up. Points are still down because he got none. And his shots actually went up. So his pace right now in this last week, the way he shot this last week over these 4 games, is higher than last year. That's good, because that's exactly what you wanted at Dylan Larkin. Remember, we were talking about, his shots are down. Do we really want... what do we want here? Like, if he's not shooting that much, it's hard to say he's going to come back and actually bounce back. But now that his shots are going up, if his shots continue to go up like this, I have no doubt in my mind he'll go up. And he shot at 0% this last week. A lot of that to me is just Detroit in general is struggling. They are struggling to put the puck in the back of the net. He had 0% IPP, wasn't factored into one goal that happened on the ice. And a large part of that, too, is it's hard to factor in when your on-ice shooting percentage is 4.3%. Now, you also got to remember that Detroit started really, really hot. And that's where a lot of his points have come from so far, from that really hot start. And they haven't really figured it out since then. So there's a lot of room for growth just for Dylan Larkin, but on top of that, also a kind of lackadaisical Detroit team at the moment. And so to me, there's a lot of room for improvement for Dylan Larkin. And all the signs to me right now point to a player that is just slumping and is going to break out at some point here. All the signs point to he's going to be fine. Shots are going up, which is good. That's what we were wondering about. His minutes are still high. His actual time on ice on the power play has gone up tremendously, which is great. You love to see that in a player. His percentage is around the same, but his actual time on ice has gone up a ton. And his IPP is ridiculously low. So when we look at Dylan Larkin, I can't but just stress patience. I, of course, would not drop him. I would, at minimum, shop him, see what's out there. But right now, you'd be selling at literally the lowest point for Dylan Larkin. That I would never advocate for doing that. I couldn't advocate to you to go shop Dylan Larkin at his lowest point possible. You've got to be patient. You're looking at a player that you probably got late, has elite upside. Be patient. Hold on to him. Good things will come. They have no other choice than to trust Dylan Larkin. And there are pieces they can put around him to make it better. What do I want to see? I want to see that power play be put back together where Anthony Mantha's on the top power play again. I want to see him be on the top power play or top line with Anthony Mantha as well. But what I had said, I think in an Unsustainable episode, was I wanted to see his shots up. His shots have gone up. I wanted to see his power play time on ice this year go up. It's gone up. The only things that are down are the things that should be up, which is his IPP. It will come up. His own shooting percentage will come up. And his on-ice shooting percentage is pretty low in the past week or two because Detroit hasn't been good. So that's actually been going down, even though it looks like his on-ice shooting percentage is fine. So all signs point to Dylan Larkin being fine. So I urge caution. I urge patience. Please don't do anything stupid with him. And feel free to shoot us messages. We will talk you away from the cliff. Happily, we will happily talk you away from the Dylan Larkin cliff and tell you, look, be patient. It's okay. So anyways, there you go. Please don't do anything stupid with Dylan Larkin. I really beg of you that you don't. I know we hyped him up a lot in the season, and he's not exactly living up to that hype, but he's currently on a 52-point pace, got 79 last year. And if you got him late, I'm not saying 52 is okay. I'm not saying that by any means, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of room there. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. Again, please don't do anything stupid, and I'll catch you next time.